The spiritual energy here is abundant, and spiritual light covers the ground. Looking closely, one can see medicine gardens everywhere in the mountains. At the foot of this peak, inside a stone house, a young man dressed in green sat cross-legged on a prayer mat, condensing chi. His brows were tightly furrowed, and spiritual light enveloped his body. Several hours later, the spiritual energy retracted into the young man's dantian, and the surrounding spiritual light vanished. Ding. Checking. Host has reached the first level of chi refining. Pending trait draw count, ×1. Chen Guan was interrupted by the sudden voice, and a phantom panel appeared before his eyes. He suddenly burst out laughing. Jia jia jia. I truly am a 1 in a million genius. All of this is the result of my own hard work. All or nothing. Call me the gambling freak. I'll draw. Ding tilde. Golden light covered Chen Guan's eyes. It's a golden legend. Heaven's reward for diligence. Heaven's reward for diligence. Diligence can make up for a lack of talent. Effort will surely be rewarded. Trait Heaven's reward for diligence detected. Panel opening. Host, Chen Guan. Cultivation, Qi refining level 1, 1%. Cultivation technique, Qingxuan art, 5%. Spells, none. Trait, Heaven's reward for diligence, gold. Note, traits are divided into white, green, blue, purple, gold, and mystic qualities. Mystic is the highest rank. Awesome. Ha 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 tilde. Chen Guan laughed out loud for a long time, before finally stopping. Chen Guan looked at the panel and called out in his heart, system, system. After calling a few times, there was no response from the system. No system. That's fine too. Chen Guan glanced at his panel, percentages. My Qingxuan art has only reached 5%. No wonder it took nearly a year just to get started. There was naturally a reason for Chen Guan's loss of composure just now. Since being discovered to have water, wood, and fire spirit roots at the age of 8, he was sold to the Qingxuan Sect by his parents, where he studied and learned to read until he was 14. Immediately after, the sect gave Chen Guan and the others a task, to draw qi into their bodies within a year and become a cultivator. If they failed, they would become miscellaneous laborers for the Qingxuan Sect. If they succeeded, they would become outer disciples of the Qingxuan Sect. With only a few days left, Chen Guan had barely managed to step into the first level of qi refining. Spirit roots were very specific. Chen Guan's spirit roots were in the most awkward position of being a triple element spirit root. Single spirit roots and 5 elements spirit roots were both very powerful. A single attribute absorbs spiritual energy quickly, while the 5 elements cycle endlessly. But Chen Guan happened to have a triple element spirit root, neither high nor low. The miscellaneous labor office at the foot of 100 Medicine Peak. The building was 2 stories high, built of fine wood, with a faint fragrance wafting from within. Chen Guan walked into the building. What are you here for? Inside, someone was sitting at a desk. An old man looked toward Chen Guan. Elderly, this junior has reached the first level of qi refining and has come to report. Li Changyu chuckled and said, you have good luck. What is your name? Chen Guan. Not bad. Water, wood, and fire spirit roots becoming an outer disciple. It seems you must have endured a lot of hardship, you have perseverance. The old man picked up a brush and lightly wrote a name on the desk. You are now an outer disciple of 100 Medicine Peak. You are entitled to 1 mu of fertile land and are assigned to house number 13 in Yi Field within the peak. Li Changyu took an identity token out of a bag. Then, spiritual light emanated from his finger, as he quickly carved 2 words onto the token. Chen Guan. Here. Li Changyu tossed it to Chen Guan. Chen Guan caught the token and bowed with hands clasped. Thank you, Elder Li. Li Changyu waved his hand. No need to be formal. I am just a managing elder of the miscellaneous labor office. And your clothes. He took out 3 light blue robes. These are the uniforms for outer disciples. Yes. Chen Guan took the clothes with both hands. Go on, find your new residence. Holding the token and clothes, Chen Guan arrived halfway up the mountain. This place was on the shady side of 100 Medicine Peak. Yi Field number 13, this is it. 1 mu of land isn't much. There was a small stone house, with a tiled roof and 1 mu of farmland. By the time he finished a simple cleanup, more than half the day had passed. Chen Guan, I didn't expect you to actually become an outer disciple. A young girl wearing a light blue uniform approached. She had a high ponytail tied with a blue ribbon, fair skin, and a slightly round face. You Miao Miao, long time no see. Chen Guan nodded with a smile. This was his classmate from his school days. I was lucky to successfully draw qi into my body in the last few days and become a cultivator. How have you been lately? Chen Guan asked politely. The corners of Yu Miao Miao's mouth curled up. Great, of course. Being an outer disciple is wonderful, we can enter and leave the sect gates freely. I've already gone down the mountain to see my parents. Chen Guan, do you want to join our alliance? Could you tell me more about it? Chen Guan said seriously. He had to team up, because a lone wolf who wasn't powerful would only be bullied even more miserably. It's the Yi Field Alliance. All the Yi Fields are on the shady side, so everyone can help each other out. How do I join? Chen Guan inquired. It's simple. If you want to join, I'll just have a word with the alliance leader. The alliance leader is a senior brother at the 5th level of Qi refining who lives at Yi Field number 1. All right. I'll have to trouble fellow Daoist you then, Chen Guan said with a smile and a cupped hand salute. Yu Miao Miao let out a burst of ee laughter. Fellow Daoist Chen, you're welcome, she replied, following suit with a bow. All right, I'm heading back down the mountain now. I'll inform senior brother about your matter. Chen Guan watched her leave. There shouldn't be anything else for now. Let's first test the effect of heaven's reward for diligence. Chen Guan entered the house and then tightly closed the door. He sat on the prayer mat, crossed his legs to condense qi, and began to circulate the Qingxuan art. Strands of spiritual energy gathered toward his dantian. A night passed. Chen Guan glanced at the panel. Host, Chen Guan. Cultivation, qi refining level 1, 1%. Cultivation technique, Qingxuan art, 5%. There's actually no change at all. Is it because I'm not working hard enough? Chen Guan felt puzzled. How could a golden trait be so underwhelming? He decided to cultivate for another day and see. The next day. Cultivation, qi refining level 1, 2%. Cultivation technique, Qingxuan art, 6%. Not bad, that counts as progress. Chen Guan was delighted, this was the true effect of a golden trait. Chen Guan was about to start cheating. Fellow Daoist Chen, are you in the house? Yu Miao Miao called from outside the door. I am, fellow Daoist Yu. Chen Guan stood up and went to open the door. Yu Miao Miao saw Chen Guan with his clothes in disarray. Fellow Daoist, were you just cultivating? Did I disturb you? It's fine, Chen Guan smiled. That's good, Yu Miao Miao breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. You've joined the alliance. Including you, there are 10 people in the alliance. Tomorrow is the new year, and our alliance will have a dinner party held at Yi Field number 1. Otherwise, the new year would be very lonely. Chen Guan nodded, no problem. Whether the new year was lonely or not wasn't important, what mattered was that he could gather information there. Another day passed. After straightening his collar, Chen Guan left his house. Before even entering the courtyard of Yi Field number 1, Chen Guan heard the sound of laughter. Chen Guan. Yu Miao Miao waved and shouted. Yes, I'm here. Greetings, fellow Taoists. Chen Guan smiled and cupped his hands, bowing to everyone. Everyone returned the salute with cupped hands. Junior sister Miao Miao, is this your classmate? A man asked with a smile. Yes, senior brother Zhao. Hello, my name is Zhao Yuming. Hello, senior brother Zhao. Alright, that's about everyone. I'm going to start cooking. I'm not waiting for her anymore. A man stood up and said, fill your stomach first. Yu Miao picked up a skewer of grilled meat by the campfire and handed it to Chen Guan. Thank you. Zhao Yuming narrowed his eyes and asked with a smile, Junior sister Miao, you and Chen Guan are on quite good terms, aren't you? It's all right, senior brother Zhao. After all, we were classmates. It wasn't easy for us to gather together again. Is that so? Junior brother Chen is at Yi Field number 13, right? Yes. Chen Guan nodded. He was a bit surprised. Zhao Yuming seemed to have feelings for Yu Miao and appeared to harbor a hint of hostility toward him because of it. Junior brother Chen's aptitude almost made him a servant. You must put in extra effort. Hearing this, everyone looked at Zhao Yuming. What was he trying to pull? Ha ha, I'm going to help out with the cooking. I'll go try out a new tune I learned. Someone laughed, avoiding the conflict. Yu Miao said with a smile, actually, he's very hardworking. Senior brother, he has 3-element spiritual root, just like me, so I know how difficult it is. Indeed, indeed. Junior sister is right. Zhao Yuming followed her lead. Chen Guan glanced at the girl with surprise. She had some discernment. However, he currently had no desire to find a Dao companion, nor any intention to fight over a girl. Zhao Yuming, you're almost 30, and you're still getting jealous. Chasing a 15-year-old junior sister. You'd be better off focusing on your cultivation. How old are you now? The person stir-frying the dishes spoke up directly to rebuke him. After being called out, Zhao Yuming gave an embarrassed laugh. No, it's nothing like that. He scratched his head, feeling his whole body flush with shame. This person was the leader, a senior brother at the 5th layer of Qi refining, a middle-aged man with a beard. Senior brother, I have no intention of looking for a Dao companion right now, Yu Miao told him plainly in her youthful voice. Is that so? Zhao Yuming became even more embarrassed. Ah, ha ha, I was just looking out for the new junior sister. A slightly chubby man approached Chen Guan. Junior brother Chen, don't mind him. He's just a clown. He's so old, yet every year he sets his sights on the new junior sisters. He means you no ill will. Thank you for the reminder, senior brother Song, Chen Guan said with a smile. Meeting for the first time, it's inevitable to have a poor impression. Ha ha ha, that's just how he is. He's actually a good person. Eat some meat, the skewer in your hand is getting cold. Chen Guan began to eat the meat, then sat by the campfire to warm himself. Senior brother, how do you handle your fertile fields? Chen Guan asked. Song Jiming said with a chuckle, naturally, we rent them to the servants to farm. It's too much trouble to farm them ourselves. We just split the harvest with the servants. The soil in the Yi fields isn't good. A year's worth of spirit rice is only worth about 10 spirit stones. The Jiao fields are decent. Only a small portion are spirit fields, most people have fertile fields too. At most, the spirit rice they grow is slightly better than ours, and their income doubles. Thank you for the guidance, senior brother, Chen Guan thanked him. Ahem. Song Jiming's smile faded as he coughed twice, his gaze passing over Chen Guan to look behind him. Curious, Chen Guan turned his head to look back. It was a young woman with sharp features and a high ponytail, carrying an aura of killing intent. Now that you're here, sit down. It's almost ready, the middle-aged man stir-frying said. Song Jiming whispered in Chen Guan's ear, that's senior brother Ji's Dao companion, Shu Changjin. But their relationship isn't very good. Shu Changjin gave a soft grunt in response to the man cooking. We have 2 new faces, a junior brother and sister from the Yi fields. Senior sister Shu, Yu Miao greeted with a smile. Chen Guan also greeted, senior sister Shu. Let's all sit together. It's time to eat. We'll set off fireworks after dinner, Ji Ming said with a smile. The 10 of them gathered around a single table, eating slowly. Ji Ming and Shu Changjin didn't look like Dao companions, they seemed more like friends. When they were almost finished eating, Shu Changjin said, I won't stay for the fireworks. Junior brothers and sisters, even if we were assigned to the Yi fields, there will eventually be a chance to distinguish ourselves and reach foundation establishment. Do not give up. I'm going back to cultivate. She left. Chen Guan felt that she didn't seem to like Jiming very much. Jiming's gaze was somber as he sat by the campfire and began drinking from a jar of wine with his junior brothers. Chen Guan didn't drink. He planned to go back and continue cultivating tonight. Jiming got drunk and shouted, "Junior brothers, set off the fireworks. Remember, if you look for a Dao companion, find a mortal woman to marry and have children with. Once a woman has seen the immortals, how could she settle down to live with people like us who will never reach foundation establishment in our lives?" "Boss G, you're drunk." "I'm not drunk. I don't blame her. I only blame myself for my lack of aptitude and my fear of death, wanting only to stay in a corner of the Qingxuan Sect. She still wants to reach foundation establishment, sigh tilde. Asterisk gulp, gulp, asterisk Jiming was dead drunk, but he kept pouring wine down his throat. "Boss G, don't drink anymore." Zhao Yuming snatched the wine from Jiming. Fireworks blossomed, reflected in Chen Guan's dark pupils. Yu Miao Miao approached Chen Guan. "Fellow Daoist Chen, senior brother Ji and senior sister Shu don't seem suited for each other." Chen Guan let out a sigh. "Fellow Daoist Yu, let's not discuss the affairs of others. We have already stepped onto the path of cultivation, we should clarify our Dao heart. Senior sister Shu is not wrong, and senior brother Ji is not wrong either. What's wrong is this world, birth, aging, sickness, and death are just that cruel." How could Chen Guan not understand Jiming's thoughts? His year of cultivation had worn away much of his edge. Every time he cultivated, he asked himself if he could successfully draw qi into his body by the end of the year. Cultivating and improving while constantly doubting oneself was inherently a difficult task. Jiming's spirit was gone, but Xu Changjin's spirit remained. She could not give up on the path to immortality. "Fellow Daoist Chen, the fireworks are truly beautiful." "MHM." Chen Guan nodded. The fireworks lasted for nearly half an hour before ending. Fireworks exploded across the sect's sky. "I'm off. Fellow Daoist Yu, senior brothers, I'll head back first." Chen Guan picked up a skewer of grilled meat and slowly left field room number 1. "Junior sister Yu, why are you staring at junior brother Chen? Do you like him?" a senior brother asked with a chuckle. "I don't know, I just feel like he's very steady, steadier than any of you senior brothers." "Ha ha ha tilde, that's just because he only just met us, so he's reserved. Once he gets along with us, he'll be having fun with us too." A few days later, there was a knock on Chen Guan's door. Asterisk knock, 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 asterisk. "Is senior brother in?" Chen Guan calmed his mind and settled his qi. Fortunately, he was only cultivating normally, otherwise, being interrupted might have caused his qi to deviate. Cultivation, first layer of qi refining, 3%. Cultivation technique, Qingxian art, 8%. "Who is it?" Chen Guan called out and then opened his door. 2 disciples in grey clothes bowed with smiles and said, "Greetings, senior brother Chen." They each bowed, but faintly revealed their cultivation levels. 4th layer of qi refining, 3rd layer of qi refining. Servant disciples. Were they trying to intimidate him? "What is it?" Chen Guan asked in a heavy voice. He was suddenly a bit afraid. Currently, he only had the Qingxian art and no combat techniques. Facing servant disciples at the 4th and 3rd layers of qi refining, he was powerless to resist. What if he was bullied? "Senior brother Chen, I am Li Yutian, and he is by Erlong." "Senior brother, your land is just sitting idle. Why not let me, your junior, lease your land? How about we split the annual income 50-50? Chen Guan smiled. "I wonder how many spirit stones you are willing to pay." Li Yutian looked slightly embarrassed. "Well, senior brother, we would be farming the land for you, and we'd split the harvest 50-50 at the end. If there are 200 catties of spiritual rice, each of us would get 100 catties." Chen Guan asked, "Have you also rented other land in District B? How many spirit stones does one mu of land usually earn?" Li Yutian pondered for a moment before slowly speaking. "The fields in District B usually produce 200 catties of spiritual rice per mu. 100 catties of spiritual rice is worth about 4 to 5 spirit stones. Is there anything else you want to ask, senior brother? We'll tell you everything." Chen Guan smiled. Since the fields in District B are basically all like this, how about this? I'll charge you 3 spirit stones. Whether you make a profit or a loss on the first year's harvest will depend on your own luck. This? Li Yuqian and Bai Erlong looked at each other. Senior brother, the two of us will discuss it for a moment before giving you an answer. After Li Yuqian finished speaking, he pulled Bai Erlong away from the doorway. The two of them walked some distance away and began talking. Chen Guan needed spirit stones right now. Transactions throughout the sect were done with spirit stones. Having just entered the sect, he had no income of spirit stones at all. He only had this patch of fertile land, but he would have to wait a year for a harvest. Thus, Chen Guan thought about taking a small loss to get some spirit stones first. After waiting for a while, Li Yuqian and Bai Erlong walked back with smiles. Li Yuqian smiled and said, "Senior brother, we've decided. This field of yours will be left to junior brother Bai to cultivate. We'll give you the 3 spirit stones, and we'll come here to start farming at the spring equinox." Chen Guan nodded. I won't interfere with the crops on this field." Li Yuqian took 3 spirit stones from his robe and handed them to Chen Guan. Chen Guan took them. Li Yuqian smiled and said, "In that case, senior brother, we'll take our leave. Farewell." Chen Guan cupped his hands to see them off. Watching their departing figures, Chen Guan thought to himself, a 3rd-level qi refining and a 4th-level qi refining were actually so polite to me. Status is actually this important. It's a good thing I didn't give up on cultivation. Clutching the 3 spirit stones in his hand, Chen Guan's mind began to race. I'll go to the book pavilion halfway up the mountain first. He took his jade token and walked toward the mountainside. A wide main road appeared here, with stalls lining both sides. Many senior brothers and sisters were setting up shop. He walked to the book pavilion by the side of the main road. "Greetings, elder." After entering, Chen Guan presented his token and bowed with cupped hands to the old man at the front desk. The old man glanced at the token and asked, "A new disciple?" "Yes, elder," Chen Guan replied respectfully. "You may choose one technique from the first floor for free. Once you've chosen, give me your token to process." "Yes." Chen Guan hadn't expected such a benefit. He had always thought the only benefit was the patch of fertile land. There were many techniques on the first floor. Body tempering. He glanced at the names of the body tempering books and shook his head. Although he wanted a balanced development, he had no money, so he decided against body tempering. He would just honestly pick a technique. 3 steps. 3 leaps method. Of the 36 stratagems, fleeing is the best. During the qi refining stage, footwork techniques were still very useful. Chen Guan carefully selected the footwork technique that was the fastest and had the lowest consumption. 9 spirit steps. This is the one. Chen Guan picked up the book. He also picked out a basic sword technique and the fireball technique. For a cultivator, practicing with a sword was normal, right? Moreover, the Qingxuan Sect's main peak was Sword Heart Peak, so he was following the mainstream. The fireball technique was a common spell. Like the basic sword technique, it only cost 1 spirit stone to take. Chen Guan came to the front desk and placed the 3 books on it. "Elder, I've made my choices. I've chosen the 9 spirit steps, and I'll purchase the basic sword technique and fireball technique with spirit stones. The 9 spirit steps cost 30 spirit stones. Chen Guan couldn't afford it right now." "I know. Give me your token." Chen Guan handed the token to the elder, who simply tapped it and said indifferently, "You can take it back now. Sword techniques are good, but our 100 medicine peak focuses on medicine. This disciple understands. I'm just slightly curious and wanted to give it a try." Chen Guan spoke respectfully and took 2 spirit stones from his pocket to hand to the old man. The old man took the spirit stones, undid the restrictions on the 3 books, and waved Chen Guan away. "All right, you can take them and leave." "Yes." Chen Guan took the 3 books. After leaving, Chen Guan thought, 1 spirit stone left. I don't have much silver left. This spirit stone must be exchanged for silver. Daily necessities still need to be bought with silver. Chen Guan left the market and headed down the mountain. There was a money exchange near the sect entrance. He exchanged 1 spirit stone for 300 taels of silver, and bought 100 catties of ordinary rice. He also spent a bit more to have someone deliver some fresh meat daily to Yi Field number 13. Life's necessities, food. As a first-level qi refining cultivator, he couldn't transcend worldly needs. After buying an ordinary iron sword there, Chen Guan carried it up the mountain. Yi Field number 13. After returning, Chen Guan began to read the 9 spirit steps. Condense 9 breaths, shift in 8 directions. 10,000 positions are contained within. This was how the first page began. Chen Guan focused on reading. After familiarizing himself with the circulation of the 9 spirit steps, he began to practice. During practice, his legs seemed to have a mind of their own. To an outsider, it looked quite comical. At night, after practicing for half a day, Chen Guan sat cross-legged to cultivate. Today's practice of the 9 spirit steps was very taxing, and it hadn't appeared on his panel yet. He wasn't discouraged, because he wasn't yet familiar with the 9 spirit steps. The night passed in silence. No one came to Chen Guan's residence in Yi Field, and he practiced for several more days. Host, Chen Guan. Cultivation, Qi Refining Level 1, 4%. Cultivation Technique, Qingxuan Art, 10%. Technique, 9 Spirit Steps, 1%. Seeing the words suddenly pop up on the panel, Chen Guan understood that he had attained basic mastery. I really am a genius. Isn't the 9 spirit steps something you can do as long as you have legs? I want to see it reach 100%. Chen Guan was overjoyed. The next day. Technique, 9 spirit steps, 7%. The progress is fast. Grinding it to 15% today should be possible. Chen Guan practiced the 9 spirit steps. A beautiful woman arrived at his residence. She wore a light green long robe with a white lining. Her black hair was coiled up, held by a faintly visible jade hairpin. Her appearance was extraordinary, and she had a cold, aloof aura. Are you the disciple of Yi Field number 13? Yes, senior. Chen Guan bowed. He had just seen this woman flying on a tool, so she must be a Foundation establishment cultivator. I am Shen Kai, the true disciple of Elder Lingyu from 100 Medicine Peak. I am requisitioning this field of yours. I'll give you 20 spirit stones a year. Shen Kai casually tossed 20 spirit stones to Chen Guan. Chen Guan caught them and heard Shen Kai say, I'll be using it for the next few years, so don't touch the field here. Yes, Chen Guan said respectfully. Now, he had to go find the labor disciple Li Yutian and return the 3 spirit stones. The labor disciples' residences were at the foot of the mountain. Chen Guan searched for a while and found Li Yutian. Li Yutian. It's senior brother Chen. What's the matter? Li Yutian laughed. Chen Guan returned the 3 spirit stones to Li Yutian. Senior brother Chen, what is the meaning of this? Li Yutian frowned. Didn't we agree earlier? Chen Guan said, a senior from above came and requisitioned my field, so I can only return your spirit stones. From above? Chen Guan whispered, Foundation establishment. A true disciple. Hearing this, Li Yutian cupped his hands and said, thank you for letting me know, senior brother Chen. Could it be that all the other areas of Yi Field have also been taken over by the senior? Chen Guan chuckled. That, I wouldn't know. Li Yutian, I have things to attend to, so I won't stay any longer. Chen Guan practiced the 9 spirit steps for another day. The next day, when Chen Guan got up, he found that his Wanmu field was surrounded by a patch of white mist. What a grand gesture. This is just a patch of fertile land, yet it's actually concealed with an array. Chen Guan was surprised by Senior Shen's financial resources. It was his first time intuitively sensing the wealth of a Foundation establishment cultivator. He didn't understand, but this was better, at least he knew where the boundary was. The remaining area was Chen Guan's territory to move around in. Cultivation Technique, Qingxuan Art, 10%. Spell, 9 Spirit Steps, 21%. The 9 Spirit Steps are progressing very quickly. I must grind it to 100%. Both his spells and cultivation technique had made progress. In the past, It took him a year to grind the Qingxuan art to 5%, but now it was different. In less than 10 days, the proficiency of his cultivation technique had doubled. Wind Spirit Moon Shadow, activate. I wonder if I can still draw cards at the second level of Qi refining. Chen Guan cleared his restless thoughts and continued to focus on improving the 9 spirit steps. Compared to his difficult to increase cultivation, he hoped to quickly gain combat power. At the very least, he needed to be able to run away fast. More than 10 days later, Chen Guan continued practicing the 9 spirit steps. His footsteps shifted like shadows, and his spiritual energy was controlled with ease, each step executed perfectly. Suddenly, Chen Guan felt a flash of inspiration explode in his mind. He became dazed for an instant as the insight arrived abruptly. Chen Guan's 9 spirit steps became even more effortless, the footwork natural, and the consumption and control of each step were now flawless. Realizing this, Chen Guan stopped and silently called up his panel. Host, Chen Guan. Cultivation, first level of Qi refining, 12%. Cultivation technique, Qingxuan art, 15%. Spell, 9 spirit steps, 100%. So it has broken through to 100%. No wonder it felt like a sudden epiphany. The corners of Chen Guan's mouth curled up, brimming with confidence. I really am a genius. Now that I have the footwork, I need to quickly add the basic sword technique and fireball technique to the schedule. Before that, let's see if the 9 spirit steps can be improved further. Chen Guan continued practicing for an afternoon but felt no progress. He glanced at the panel again. Spell, 9 spirit steps, 100%. Well, no wonder it's only gold quality. Diligence can compensate for lack of talent, but it can only go up to 100%. If it were of profound quality, would it be able to improve infinitely? Night fell. Chen Guan read through the moves of the basic sword technique in his room. First learn the basic sword forms, then the combos. It doesn't look difficult. Holding the manual and an iron sword, he began to practice with great clumsiness. This disciple from District B is very diligent, that's rare to see. It's just a pity his natural talent is too poor. Inside the array, Shen Jinkai watched the disciple practice his swordplay with a deep gaze for a good while. To be honest, he was one of the few consistently diligent District B disciples she had ever seen. Most other disciples would be asleep by this time. The disciples here didn't have much heart for cultivation. Perhaps it's because he just became an outer disciple. Shen Jinkai withdrew her gaze. She would likely never have any interaction with such a disciple in her life. His talent was too poor, like an insurmountable chasm. But what Shen Jinkai didn't know was that after another dozen or so days, this disciple's swordplay had become perfectly natural, the sword moving with his intent, reaching the level of great perfection. Chen Guan let out a long breath. Great perfection again. The feeling of reaching great perfection every time is truly wonderful. Host, Chen Guan. Cultivation, first level of Qi refining, 24%. Cultivation technique, Qingxuan art, 23%. Spells, 9 spirit steps, 100%, basic sword technique, 100%. 2 are at great perfection, only the fireball technique is left. 1 day later. Fireball technique, 5%. Looking at the proficiency on the panel, Chen Guan felt the meager spiritual energy within his body. Forget it, I'll take the fireball technique slowly. From that day on, Chen Guan would only go out to practice the fireball technique a few times each day before returning to closed-door cultivation. 3 months later. Fellow Daoist Chen, fellow Daoist Chen. A woman's voice called out from outside the door. Host, Chen Guan. Cultivation, first level of Qi refining, 97%. Cultivation technique, Qingxuan art, 78%. Spells, 9 spirit steps, 100%, basic sword technique, 100%, fireball technique, 100%. Just a little bit more. Chen Guan frowned. He would be able to break through to the second level of Qi refining today or tomorrow. Someone coming at this time really annoyed him a bit. Chen Guan pushed open the door and walked out with a smile. It's fellow Daoist Yu. Is there something the matter? Fellow Daoist Chen. Today is the day Senior Wang gives a sermon at the 100 Medicine Peak Square. Aren't you going? Yu Miao Miao asked in confusion. Chen Guan hesitated for a moment. This? Could fellow Daoist you tell me about the benefits of Senior Wang's sermon? Has fellow Daoist Chen been cultivating this whole time? Yu Miao Miao said in surprise, then explained, Senior Wang is a golden core elder of the 100 Medicine Peak. He only gives a sermon once a year. Any disciple with cultivation problems can present their token and ask one important question. Since you don't understand its value, I'll head out first. Yu Miao Miao smiled and cupped her hands before leaving Chen Guan's door. I haven't seen her for a few months, and she seems much more mature, Chen Guan thought as he watched her back. A new environment really can prompt rapid growth. But for Chen Guan, he had no problems with his cultivation. It'll be today, or tomorrow. Chen Guan closed the door and resumed his cultivation. The next morning, at the time when the purple qi comes from the east, Chen Guan's cultivation broke through, spiritual light spread across his body, and his aura rose by another level. After absorbing all the spiritual light, he let out a long breath. Second level of qi refining. He was in a very good mood. Ding. Host confirmed to have reached the second level of qi refining. Pending trait draw count x1. Hearing this voice that sounded like celestial music, Chen Guan tried his best, but he couldn't keep the corners of his mouth from turning up. So it's one draw for every minor realm. I really am going to become a genius. Draw. Chen Guan muttered to himself, give me a profound. A purple light emerged. Fusion. Fusion, once every month, you have the opportunity to fuse two items together. The success rate is 50%. A. Does this count as a conceptual trait? Without the time and item restrictions, it would definitely be comparable to a gold trait. If the success rate were 100%, it would absolutely be a profound trait. Traits, Heaven's reward for diligence, gold, fusion purple. I have an opportunity right now. What should I fuse? Fuse two spirit stones together. Chen Guan currently only had spirit stones and an iron sword, nothing else. Let's fuse the iron sword and a spirit stone, I'm too curious. He took out a spirit stone and the iron sword and silently thought, fusion. The two items in Chen Guan's hands turned into a beam of white light before him, then collided and merged into one. After a moment, the white light dissipated, and a sword appeared in Chen Guan's hand. An iron sword with spiritual energy. No way, that's so crude. Chen Guan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He pondered over the sword for a long time, but couldn't figure it out. This purple trait was mediocre. After all, it was limited to items, with only one chance per month and a success rate of only 50%. It's just SOSO. I'll do another draw once I break through to the third level of qi refining. Chen Guan came to the marketplace once again. He searched the stalls for a long time, before finding one that sold the qi gathering technique. Senior brother, how much is the qi gathering technique? 10 spirit stones. Although it's difficult to learn, it is effective. Once you reach major achievement in the qi gathering technique, cultivators of the same rank won't be able to sense your aura. The senior brother said with a smile, if you're interested, you can buy it and give it a try. It's only 10 spirit stones, after all. This? Chen Guan hesitated for a moment. Although he really liked the qi gathering technique, who was he guarding against? Within the sect, he hadn't offended anyone. He looked at the other spells on the stall. A sword technique. Chen Guan saw a book titled 4 Seasons Sword Technique. Senior brother, how much is the 4 Seasons Sword Technique? This thing is very hard to practice. It's a sword technique belonging to the Qingxuan Sword Sect. I've heard that those who can master this technique all become golden core cultivators. I'm a loyal guy, so I'll sell it to you cheap. Just 10 spirit stones will do. Chen Guan shook his head and said, forget it. A sword technique this difficult to practice, yet you're selling it to me so expensively. I don't think you'll be able to sell a single copy of the 4 Seasons sword technique at all. Who says? The senior brother at the stall said. Someone has mastered it. Shinruoyu from Sword Heart Peak did. This stuff is very rare, okay. Chen Guan smiled and said, "How about this, senior brother? Sell me the chi gathering technique, and I'll add 2 more spirit stones to take this 4 seasons sword technique to have a look." "Hey, junior brother, you're trying to take advantage of me." The senior brother was puzzled and looked at Chen Guan with an annoyed expression. "Senior brother, is it a deal? I'm a bit short on funds, but I'm curious about this 4 seasons sword technique." "No, I can only sell you the chi gathering technique." Chen Guan looked disappointed and let out a sigh. Sigh tilde. "Forget it, I'll look around some more." Chen Guan turned to leave, thinking to himself, "Stop me. Call out to me." But after walking about 10 steps, the senior brother still hadn't called out to Chen Guan. Chen Guan felt frustrated. Wasn't this how the bargaining script was supposed to go? I've seen others do this successfully, why isn't it working for me? Fine, fine. He's not the only one selling the chi gathering technique anyway. After walking around, Chen Guan didn't find anyone else selling the chi gathering technique. He was about to enter the book pavilion. Junior brother, junior brother." The senior brother waved his hand at him, signaling him to come over. Chen Guan was a bit surprised to see this. "Junior brother, I'll sell you the chi gathering technique. For an extra 2 spirit stones, I'll throw in the 4 seasons sword technique." Chen Guan laughed. "Senior brother, why the sudden change of heart?" "Ahem," he said seriously, "it's to look out for you, junior brother." Chen Guan chuckled and didn't press further. This senior brother must have seen him about to enter the book pavilion and stepped forward to stop him. "No problem, thank you for your generosity, senior brother." Chen Guan took out 12 spirit stones, handed them over, and took the chi gathering technique and the 4 seasons sword technique from the store. He inspected the 2 books on the spot. "Junior brother, feel free to check them. Since I'm allowed to sell techniques here, they definitely pass the sect's scrutiny. I'm usually here selling techniques. If there's any technique you want in the future, just tell me, and I'll help you find a cheaper one. Better for me to earn those spirit stones than the book pavilion, right?" Chen Guan asked with a smile, "What is your name, senior brother?" "No need for formalities. I'm Zhao Xianhua, just call me senior brother Zhao," Zhao Xianhua said with a smile. "And how should I address you, junior brother?" "Chen Guan." Chen Guan asked, "Senior brother Zhao, do you usually sell techniques here?" "Yes, I'm here most of the time. If you need anything, remember to support my business." "All right." Chen Guan nodded and cupped his hands. "Senior brother, I'll be going then." Zhao Xianhua said with a chuckle, "Take care, junior brother Chen. Remember to support my business." "Of course." Chen Guan left the market and returned to his house. Chi gathering technique. It can help avoid trouble, though seniors will still be able to see through it. It's fine if seniors see through it, because the gap between us is too large. But what about cultivators at the same level as him? Or if cultivators who are close to Chen Guan see how fast he's progressing, would they become jealous? The chi gathering technique is a technique to guard against petty people. Once he reaches the late stage of chi refining, he won't need the chi gathering technique anymore, but he needs it now. Chi and blood reflecting each other, yin and yang reversed, controlled at will, spirit hidden within. Chen Guan read the technique. Once he understood the cultivation method from it, he began to practice. He would deal with the 4 seasons sword technique later. 2 months later. Host, Chen Guan. Cultivation, second level of chi refining, 79%. Cultivation technique, Qingxuan art, 100%. Spells, chi gathering technique, 100%. This chi gathering technique is truly difficult to practice. With my talent being so strong, it actually took me 2 months to reach perfection. Looking at the yellow leaves falling in the distant mountains, Chen Guan realized that time passed so quickly, it was already autumn again. 100 Medicine Peak was different, because they needed to cultivate spirit herbs. The climate in the mountains was basically like spring year-round. Chen Guan wore a smile. In less than a year, I've broken through 2 minor realms. If I showed this off, the senior brothers in District B would probably go crazy, wouldn't they? In 1 more month, he would be able to break through to the 3rd level of Qi refining and draw another trait. 4 Seasons Sword Technique. He took the sword technique he had bought 2 months ago from the table. The name is quite good. After opening the first page, he saw a poem. Spring's leisure and summer's rise bring wondrous changes. Autumn's restraint and winter's edge join the cycle's turn. Sword forms shifting unpredictably command the 4 seasons. Intent like a surging torrent grinds away the soul. Old ancestor Tai Xian. Chen Guan continued to turn the pages and found that many old ancestors, venerables, and so on had commented on this sword technique. They all said the difficulty was high, but the sword technique was exquisite. Suddenly, Chen Guan felt excited. I wonder how far my heaven's reward for diligence can take me. Thinking of this, he calmed his mind to study the moves of this sword technique. After finishing, Chen Guan frowned, and his brow didn't unknit for a long time. It really is difficult. There were no sword combos, only methodology. It was a methodology based on researching the basic sword technique. Practicing this sword technique mainly lay in the sword intent. Spring leisure, summer rise, autumn restraint, winter edge. Leisure and rise refer to the speed of the moves. Restraint and edge are different fighting styles, one focuses on defense, the other on offense. The 4 types of sword intent change in layers, capable of deriving countless sword moves. This was the 4 seasons sword technique. This hard. Is this a sword technique I can practice at my current level? Practice? I've already got my cheat, what am I afraid of? Chen Guan didn't hesitate at all. He was a man of action and immediately went out with his sword to practice. He practiced step by step, first working on the movements of the 4 sword styles slowly. Spring leisure. Chen Guan muttered to himself as he slowly performed the basic sword technique once. Summer rise. The basic sword technique became faster, each strike incredibly swift. Autumn restraint. Reaching this step, Chen Guan frowned. Focus on defense. How to defend? How to practice defense? This would require actual combat. Chen Guan's heart sank. Actual combat meant exposing his strength, and now was not the right time for him to do so. This sword technique is actually so profound. It seems I should focus on cultivation for now. He could only wait until next year, when that senior Shen gave him another 20 spirit stones, before he could buy some techniques that he could actually practice. This 4 seasons sword technique can only be put aside for now. However, I can practice the fast-slow sword more often. Diligence can compensate for a lack of talent, maybe 10,000 repetitions really can make up for it. Chen Guan planned as much, but he would wait until his cultivation reached the 3rd level of Qi refining before doing so. 10 odd days later. A mass of spiritual energy gathered at Chen Guan's dantian, constantly nourishing his body. After he had inhaled and exhaled a significant amount of spiritual energy. Cultivation, 3rd level of Qi refining, 0%. Detecting that the host has reached the 3rd level of Qi refining. Pending trait draws ×1. A graceful voice rang out in his mind. The corners of Chen Guan's mouth curled up. This time, it has to be mysterious grade, right? Draw. Chen Guan muttered inwardly, draw. Ding tilde. A brilliant white light appeared before his eyes, and his expression instantly collapsed. Holy shit. Am I not a genius? It actually gave me a white one. White trait, drunkard. Drunkard, when you drink your first mouthful of wine and do not get drunk, you will not become intoxicated for the rest of your drinking session. White, it looks decent, I guess. But I don't even drink. What the hell am I supposed to do with this thing? Chen Guan felt incredibly frustrated. Such a useless white trait. If it could be used in combat, it would be acceptable, but why is it a useless drinking trait? Why didn't you give me a mysterious grade trait? Chen Guan let out a long sigh. Forget it. After practicing for a long time, I can still become a stat monster, I'm still a genius. With heaven's reward for diligence as a safety net, every draw afterward is just a bonus. HMPH. He quickly adjusted his mindset. Mysterious grade quality depended on luck, it couldn't be forced. Next time, I'll try praying for a white trait and see if a reverse psychology approach works. After all, the probability of drawing a white trait was the same as drawing a mysterious grade trait. With 6 grades of traits, even if my luck is terrible, I should get a mysterious grade trait once every dozen draws or so. With heaven's reward for diligence, my path was already wide open. Chen Guan calmed his mind. Practice the fast slow sword and grind it out slowly. He took his sword and continued practicing in the open space outside. No matter how difficult the 4 seasons sword technique was, he would grind his way to success. It was just a white trait, he had to keep a level head. Several months passed. Chen Guan had been cultivating the entire time. However, due to his aptitude and the insufficient spiritual energy on the peak in District B, even though Chen Guan's Qingxuan art had reached perfection, he still hadn't broken through to the 4th level of qi refining. Host, Chen Guan. Cultivation, 3rd level of qi refining, 88%. Fellow Daoist Chen, come celebrate the new year outside Senior Brother's courtyard, Jiming invited with a smile. All right. Chen Guan's temperament had become much more steady. 2 years of bitter cultivation had taught him to suppress arrogance and impatience. Even with cheats, it wasn't like using a game trainer where one ding could bring you to the peak. Still 12% short. After another month of cultivation, I should be able to break through to the 4th level of qi refining and reach the middle stage of qi refining. One had to know that the middle stage of qi refining was not something the early stage could compare to. There was a massive chasm between the 4th level and the 3rd level of qi refining. Furthermore, once Chen Guan broke through, he could draw another trait. That was the most exciting part. District B, number 1. Senior brothers, senior sisters, Happy New Year's Eve. Junior brother Chen. Junior brother Chen, quickly take a seat, let's have a drink, Song Jiming shouted with a laugh, inviting Chen Guan to sit beside him. Song Jiming's round face gave him a somewhat approachable look. Chen Guan did not hesitate, and sat down next to Song Jiming. Junior brother, are you hungry? Eat some roasted meat to fill your stomach. A skewer of roasted meat was placed in front of Chen Guan, and he had no choice but to pick it up. Thank you, senior brother. You're welcome. Fortune was good this year. Senior Shen requisitioned some land. 20 spirit stones. That's enough for us to keep a few concubines in the city down the mountain, and father a few more children. Junior brother, after this year, will you be having your capping ceremony? Yes. Chen Guan nodded. At 16, the age of binding one's hair, he was considered to have stepped into adulthood. My mortal wife has a distant younger cousin. She's elegant, generous, well-educated, well-mannered, and very sensible. This elder brother will introduce her to you. You're not young anymore, it's time to start a family. Yu Miao Miao's ears perked up upon hearing this. Senior brother Song, Chen Guan is like me, he only joined a year ago. Why are you already looking for a wife for him? We cultivators should pursue immortality, not romance and love. Sai Tilda Song Jiming shook his head. That's where you're wrong. Junior sister Yu, people with low talent like us are rarely noticed by women who have stepped onto the immortal path. Unless one can reach the late stage of qi refining, only then would an outstanding woman like you take notice. For example, would you take a fancy to junior brother Chen Guan? Song Jiming asked with a smile. Hearing this, Yu Miao Miao said with a flushed face, I don't want to talk about love right now. I only want to pursue immortality. My relationship with fellow Daoist Chen is pure. Stop talking, junior sister Yu. The more you explain, the worse it sounds. Ha 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 tilde, Song Jiming burst into laughter. The other senior brothers also laughed along in agreement. Chen Guan said with a smile, Senior brothers, fellow Daoist Yu is right. She and I really only want to pursue the immortal path. After all, we've both just stepped onto the immortal path. Marrying and having children is too early for me, isn't it? Junior brother Chen, my wife's cousin is really good. Once this chance passes, there won't be another. A senior brother with a square face walked over with a beaming smile. Forget it. Junior brother Chen is one of us, after all. How can we let a mortal woman pick and choose our junior brother Chen? Junior brother Chen, do you know how to drink? I don't. That's fine. You'll learn after a few times. Come. Chen Guan took a jar of wine. All right then. He took a sip. It didn't taste spicy, instead, it had a hint of sweetness and fragrance. The wine was actually quite good. The group laughed and drank, boasting and chatting wildly. Junior brother, you might not know, but no one new came to our Yi field again this year. I know. No new faces. Let's not talk about that. I once saw a flood dragon. Do you want to know what it looked like? Oh, please. You, seeing a flood dragon. It's a miracle you weren't shaken to death by a single breath from it. I've even seen a true dragon. Hey. Fang Mingyuan, you're deliberately trying to undermine me, aren't you? So what if I am? The two of them began to glare at each other, taking it seriously. Harmony, let's have some harmony. A short while later. That Xu Changjin arrived at the scene. Senior sister Xu. Almost everyone called out respectfully. No need for formalities. It's the new year, so just be happy, Xu Changjin said as she sat down to one side. The food is ready, let's eat. Jiming sat beside Xu Changjin with a smile. Come, drink wine, eat meat, and have some vegetables. Cheers. Chen Guan laughed and drank with the senior brothers, almost completely blending in with them. The fireworks ceased, the wine had gone around 3 times, and the east was beginning to turn white. Senior brother Song, senior brother Fang, senior brother Ju, wake up. Weren't you all very good drinkers? Chen Guan's face was flushed red, yet he was exceptionally spirited as he patted the people slumped over the table. No more. Song Jiming's pudgy hand waved feebly before he flopped face down onto the table. Senior brother Ji, drink. No more. I still have to look after the other junior brothers. Junior brother Chen, it's almost light out, let's stop here. Sigh tilde, Chen Guan sighed with a smile. Not a single one who can drink. Next time you ask me to drink, no more tag teaming me, all right? Chen Guan stood up and cupped his hands. I'll trouble senior brother Ji to look after the other senior brothers. I'll be heading off first. Take care, junior brother. Be careful. I'm not drunk, Chen Guan laughed. Fellow Daoist Chen, do you want me to walk you back? Yu Miao Miao asked with concern. Not drunk. Chen Guan waved his hand, indicating there was no need to worry. He walked with a straight stride, sauntering out of the courtyard.
In Disciple House, Chen Guan stands over a work table holding a strangely dense iron block in both hands, his eyes shining with disbelief and hard-earned triumph. Beside him lie failed fusion materials and tools, showing how many attempts it took to create this rare result. The once large 50 catty iron has become shockingly compact, only a quarter of its former size. Chen Guan's expression is a mix of exhaustion, pride, and curiosity, as he wonders whether this transformed metal can now be considered refined iron. Just as Chen Guan admires the refined iron, an ethereal voice echoes from outside the house and resonates straight into his heart. Chen Guan lifts his head sharply as the summons calls all new outer disciples of 100 Medicine Peak to gather at the square by the hour of C. Through the open doorway, the distant mountain peak and drifting clouds make the sect feel vast and sacred. Before the hour of C, Chen Guan arrives at the broad stone square of 100 Medicine Peak, where clusters of outer disciples gather under fluttering banners and misty mount skies. Yu Miao Miao spots him from the crowd and cheerfully waves him over. She excitedly nudges his shoulder and whispers that they may be learning the sect-protecting sword array and even receiving free magical artifact swords. The students murmur among themselves as their robes sway in the breeze. At the exact hour of C, the crowd falls silent as Elder Bai Mengshuan descends from the sky riding a flying sword, his long, thin white eyebrows and flowing white hair whipping dramatically in the wind. The disciples stare upward in awe as he lands before them. Chen Guan and the other disciples bow respectfully while Yu Miao Miao watches with shining eyes. Elder Bai stands before the outer disciples and teaches the principles of the sect protecting sword array, explaining the circulation of spiritual energy while demonstrating with a gleaming sword. Swirling trails of spiritual light reveal the path of qi from the Dantian to the Yintang, Huiyin and Mingmen. The disciples watch with intense concentration, their expressions ranging from awe to determination, while Chen Guan listens with a focused gaze. After an hour of teaching, Elder Bai begins roll call. The disciples answer one by one in neat rows until Yu Miao Miao and Chen Guan's names are called near the end. A long line forms to receive sect spirit swords, with each disciple stepping forward under the elder's watchful eye. Yu Miao Miao leans toward Chen Guan with an awkward, embarrassed smile and whispers that, as disciples from the Yi field, they are recognized immediately. Chen Guan responds with a calm, reassuring smile before finally receiving his own spirit sword. Just as the disciples begin dispersing, Chen Guan pauses after receiving a private voice transmission from Elder Bai, ordering him to wait at the main hall. Yu Miao Miao stands beside him with her new spirit sword, ready to return together, but Chen Guan gently tells her to go ahead because he has something to take care of. Her expression shows a brief flicker of concern before she smiles and turns to leave. Chen Guan remains behind and walks alone toward the main hall, carrying both his spirit sword and the burden of his hidden cultivation. Inside the solemn main hall, Chen Guan waits in the outer chamber until Elder Bai's stern voice instructs him to stop waiting outside and enter the inner hall. Elder Bai stands behind a desk and questions Chen Guan directly about his cultivation and his qi gathering technique. Chen Guan respectfully explains that he suddenly reached perfection in the Qingxuan art and concealed himself to avoid jealousy. Chen Guan maintains a controlled expression while Elder Bai watches him with suspicion. In a sudden burst of motion, Elder Bai appears directly in front of Chen Guan and places a hand on his shoulder. A powerful wave of spiritual energy floods through Chen Guan's body as the elder verifies the purity of his Qingxuan art and confirms his water, wood, and fire spiritual roots. Chen Guan's expression tightens under the pressure, while Elder Bai's face remains stern and unraidable. Without giving Chen Guan room to resist, Elder Bai forcefully takes him to a remote area where the heart-questioning array glows on the ground. In a secluded place away from the main crowds, Chen Guan steps into the heart-questioning array, surrounded by glowing runes and a mystical formation beneath his feet. Invisible questions test his truthfulness, but Chen Guan stands firm and answers steadily. When he finally emerges, Elder Bai's severe expression breaks into a broad, delighted smile. Back in the inner hall, Elder Bai speaks to Chen Guan with surprising warmth. He praises Chen Guan's clean identity and sudden insight, telling him that even with triple spiritual roots, he still has hope of reaching foundation establishment if he works hard and earns enough contribution points. The elder pats Chen Guan's shoulder and advises him to collect enough points to exchange for 10 foundation establishment pills by the time he reaches qi refinement perfection. Chen Guan listens with respectful seriousness, his eyes reflecting renewed ambition. After the elder departs on his sword, Chen Guan returns alone to his small house, sits on his prayer mat, and cultivates while internally wishing for an aura-hiding trait to protect his secret. 3 days later, the disciples gather once more on the square as Elder Bai announces that they have now been taught the sword array 3 times. They will be assigned to 6-person teams led by senior brothers for 3 years of joint sect missions. Names are read aloud from a list until Chen Guan and Yu Miao Miao hear their team. Their group is led by Wang Chen and also includes Jiang Hao, Zhao Yide and Xu Jinxiu. Chen Guan and Yu Miao Miao walk over together, only for Wang Chen to raise an eyebrow and teasingly ask whether they are a couple. Yu Miao Miao flails in embarrassed denial while Chen Guan stands beside her in awkward calm, and the surrounding disciples turn to look at them with amused expressions. NG Square of 100 Medicine Peak, Chen Guan calmly clarifies that he and Yu Miao Miao are not Dao companions. He explains that they were classmates before entering the sect and naturally know each other well. Yu Miao Miao stands beside him with flushed cheeks and lingering embarrassment from Wang Chen's teasing, while Wang Chen laughs warmly and accepts the explanation. The newly formed team gathers around them with amused expressions. Wang Chen invites everyone to introduce themselves as the 6 teammates stand together in a loose circle on the sect plaza. Tall and clean-cut, Jiang Hao introduces himself with an easy smile, while the slightly shorter Zhao Yide rubs the stubble along his jaw and speaks with a rougher presence. Chen Guan watches him with a restrained, humorous expression as an unspoken joke crosses his mind. Delicate and reserved, Xu Jinshu introduces herself softly, followed by Yu Miao Miao and Chen Guan respectfully cupping their hands. Wang Chen stands at the center of the training ground with his spirit sword drawn, instructing the 5 junior disciples to surround him and activate the Tiangang sword array. Chen Guan, Yu Miao Miao, Jiang Hao, Zhao Yide and Xu Jinshu take their positions in a precise circular formation. Their glowing spirit swords point outward as streams of spiritual energy begin connecting them. Faint Tiangang symbols light up across the ancient stone plaza beneath their feet while mountain winds sweep through their robes. Within only a few breaths, the sword formation falls apart in a burst of unstable spiritual light as the disciples lose their rhythm. Jiang Hao struggles to control his breathing. Yu Miao Miao steps out of alignment, and the glowing connections between their swords snap and scatter like broken ribbons. Wang Chen lowers his sword and frowns sharply, sternly reminding Jiang Hao that mastering the array could determine whether they survive future sect missions. The disciples stand chastened beneath his intense gaze, their expressions showing embarrassment, determination, and growing awareness of the danger ahead. After repeated attempts beneath the afternoon sun, Xu Jinshu suddenly lowers her spirit sword and sways with exhaustion. Her delicate face is pale as she admits that her spiritual energy is completely depleted. The other team members breathe heavily around her, their robes damp and their expressions tired, while Wang Chen sighs and sheathes his sword. He explains that 1st and 2nd layer qi refining cultivators naturally possess limited spiritual energy. He dismisses the team and orders them to return the next day at the hour of the snake. As Wang Chen departs the plaza, Yu Miao Miao immediately turns toward Chen Guan and cheerfully asks him to walk back with her. The 2 leave side by side beneath the golden mountain sunlight, their spirit swords resting at their waists and their conversation relaxed after the exhausting practice. Behind them, Jiang Hao watches with a teasing grin and jokes that they still look like a couple, while Zhao Yide stares after them with a visibly bitter, jealous expression. Xu Jinshu quietly cups her hands in farewell before leaving alone. Along a peaceful stone path winding between medicinal gardens and mist-covered cliffs, Yu Miao Miao asks Chen Guan how much spiritual energy he has left. Chen Guan answers vaguely while hiding the fact that he is already close to reaching the 4th layer of qi refining. Yu Miao Miao grows serious and warns him that even the smallest mistake during a sect mission could lead to death, urging him not to neglect cultivation. Chen Guan listens with a gentle smile and promises that he has been working hard. An entire month passes as Chen Guan and his team repeatedly practice the Tiangang sword array through changing weather and different times of day. Their movements gradually evolve from clumsy and disconnected into elegant, synchronized sword patterns with glowing spiritual energy linking all 6 members in a stable formation. Chen becomes increasingly confident and precise, studying every movement until he is second only to Wang Chen in understanding the array. After the team completes another successful formation, Wang Chen raises his hand and announces that they will travel to the outskirts of the Luoyun Mountains the day after tomorrow for actual combat training. The 5 junior disciples react with a mixture of excitement, nervousness, and fear as the distant silhouette of the dangerous mountain range appears beyond the sect peaks. Wang Chen leaves with a confident flourish, his robes sweeping behind him, while Chen Guan calmly sheathes his sword and Yu Miao Miao smiles at his side. Chen Guan and Yu Miao Miao walk away from the training square together once again, talking comfortably as they descend the mountain path beneath the evening sky. In the background, Xu Jinshu watches them leave with quiet envy in her eyes. She does not envy their origins in the Yi field, but the fact that they each have someone waiting to walk beside them. Chen Guan and Yu Miao Miao continue down the path together while Xu Jinshu stands alone among the dispersing disciples. While walking home, Yu Miao Miao hopefully suggests that they visit the market together the next day to buy life-saving pills before their mission. Chen Guan tells her that his spirit stones are nearly gone and that she should go alone, causing her bright expression to fall into visible disappointment. She wanted companionship more than help choosing pills, but Chen Guan continues walking with quiet determination, focused on a much more urgent matter. As they separate, his cultivation panel reveals that he has reached 99% of the third layer of qi refining and stands on the edge of a breakthrough. At the first appearance of purple dawn light, Chen Guan sits cross-legged on a prayer mat inside his quiet courtyard house, breathing in spiritual energy as glowing mist gathers within his dantian. Suddenly, a brilliant wave of power erupts from his body as he breaks through from the third layer to the fourth layer of qi refining. The surrounding spiritual energy rushes toward him in swirling streams, shaking nearby leaves and filling the room with radiant light. Chen Guan opens his eyes with a controlled smile as a golden system notification announces one pending trait draw. Chen Guan activates the trait draw, and his entire vision becomes flooded with magnificent purple light before the rare Spirit Bright Eyes trait appears before him. His eyes begin glowing as he endures a painful itching transformation. When he slowly opens them again, he sees that the world has completely changed. Heaven and earth are filled with countless streams of colourful spiritual energy, with hidden currents flowing through the air, terrain, plants, and even his own body. Chen Guan stands in stunned wonder as the ordinary courtyard transforms into a universe of luminous spiritual patterns. Another day later, Chen Guan arrives at the 100 Medicine Peak Plaza, where Yu Miao Miao waves eagerly from beside Jiang Hao, Zhao Yide, and Wang Chen. Xu Jinshu rushes in last, and Wang Chen immediately orders the team to follow him down the mountain. As they descend the grand stone steps, Xu Jinshu anxiously asks whether they are expected to walk all the way to the Luoyun Mountains. Wang Chen impatiently explains that they are heading to Danding Peak, where a fleet of cloud boats waits to carry disciples through the sky. The team stares toward the distant Danding Peak as enormous cloud boats float above the mountains. V teammates arrive at the enormous Danding Peak Square for the first time, staring across a plaza nearly twice the size of 100 Medicine Peak's training grounds. Colourful market stalls crowd the edges, cultivators barter over glowing herbs and magical artefacts, and enormous cloud boats rest beyond the lively crowds. Jiang Hao gazes around in open amazement and wonders why Danding Peak is so much larger, while Wang Chen impatiently orders everyone to stop staring and follow him. At the edge of the square, Wang Chen leads the team toward a massive wooden cloud boat floating beside the stone platform. A stern, middle-aged cultivator announces that passage to the Luoyun Mountains costs 1 spirit stone per person, but Wang Chen presents a special sect token that immediately changes the man's expression. Realizing they are new disciples beginning their yearly training, the boat keeper allows them aboard, while Wang Chen sharply urges the hesitant group to move faster. The enormous cloud boat rises from Danding Peak and sails gracefully through a boundless sea of white clouds. From the window of his private cabin, Chen Guan watches mountain peaks disappear beneath the mist as brilliant sunlight illuminates the sky. At night, he stands silently before the window while the vast silver galaxy stretches above the boat like a celestial river. Wonder fills his normally calm face as he realizes how magnificent the path of immortality can be. At dawn, the ringing of a large bronze gong echoes across the cloud boat as it descends toward a busy city built beneath the towering Luoyun Mountains. Chen Guan, Yu Miao Miao, Jiang Hao, Zhao Yide, Xu Jinshu, and Wang Chen disembark among travelling cultivators and merchants while mist-covered peaks loom in the distance. Wang Chen calmly announces that they will eat in the city before entering the mountains that afternoon, while the younger disciples look toward the wilderness with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. After leaving the city, The team stands before the entrance to the Luoyun Mountains, where dense green vegetation, heavy moisture, and low white clouds make the peaks appear swallowed by the sky. Wang Chen explains that their 7-day trial will require them to identify medicinal herbs and battle spirit beasts for real combat experience. Zhao Yide nervously asks whether the journey will be dangerous, causing Wang Chen to turn on him with a fierce expression and declare that anyone seeking absolute safety should return to the sect and remain a miscellaneous disciple forever. The group falls silent as he orders them forward into the misty wilderness. As the team enters the shadowy mountain forest, Chen Guan secretly activates his spirit-bright eyes. His pupils glow faintly purple, and the world transforms before him into countless streams of colourful spiritual energy flowing through trees, stones, mist, and hidden terrain. While the others cautiously follow Wang Chen through the thick vegetation, Chen Guan scans every corner with heightened vigilance, noticing dangers and spiritual fluctuations invisible to ordinary eyes. Wang Chen stops beside a small patch of luminous white grass growing beneath an ancient tree and asks the disciples to identify its age. Jiang Hao kneels to examine the single white vein running through one leaf and correctly declares that the plant is less than 2 years old. After he carefully harvests it, Wang Chen explains that even a 1-year-old white spirit grass is worth 1 spirit stone. The young disciples stare at the tiny herb with newly awakened excitement, realizing that treasures are hidden throughout the dangerous mountains. The team travels deeper into the Luoyun Mountains while discovering several varieties of spirit herbs among mossy cliffs, crystal-clear streams, and tangled roots. Wang Chen patiently teaches them how to recognize each plant, while the younger disciples carefully collect herbs worth only a few spirit stones but treat every discovery like a precious fortune. Chen Guan observes silently through his spirit-bright eyes, seeing the faint spiritual glow surrounding each medicinal plant as evening slowly darkens the forest. Night falls over the Luoyun Mountains, bringing bitter February cold, heavy moisture, and violent winds that tear through the campsite. Yu Miao Miao curls into herself while shivering uncontrollably, and Xu Jinshu presses close beside her as the 2 young women hug for warmth. Jiang Hao suggests lighting a fire, but Wang Chen sternly refuses and explains that the greatest nighttime danger is not wild beasts but ruthless cultivators who would see the flames as an invitation to attack. The disciples stare nervously into the darkness surrounding them as the forest suddenly feels filled with unseen threats. Without saying a word, Chen Guan draws his spirit sword and begins digging rapidly into the frozen ground while the others watch in confusion. He creates a deep shelter protected from the wind, then gently tells Yu Miao Miao and Aunt Xu Jinshu to hide inside and warm themselves. Yu Miao Miao looks up at him with touched surprise, while Xu Jinshu appears grateful but embarrassed. The exhausted women quickly climb into the pit and curl together, no longer caring about the dirt. Jiang Hao and Zhao Yide attempt to copy Chen Guan by digging their own shelter, but they struggle painfully with the hard ground and soon exchange suspicious glances after realizing how quickly he finished. Chen Guan calmly steps forward and helps carve out their pit with astonishing strength and precision. Nearby, Wang Chen leans against a tree with a knowing smile, teasing Chen Guan for cherishing the fairer sex while carefully studying his unusual abilities. Chen Guan stands in the icy wind with his sword in hand, completely unaffected by the cold, making his hidden power increasingly difficult to conceal. Beneath the moonlit trees, Wang Chen's playful expression turns serious as he directly asks whether Chen Guan is truly a disciple from the Yi field. Chen Guan calmly confirms his identity, then cleverly redirects the conversation by asking how Wang Chen's strength compares to Elder Bai's. Wang Chen laughs at the impossible comparison between his late-stage qi-refining cultivation and a foundation establishment elder, but he recognizes the warning hidden within Chen Guan's words and stops investigating. Before turning away, he quietly reveals that a great sect competition will occur in 3 years, offering talented disciples a chance to become an elder's true disciple. As dawn approaches, Chen Guan gathers dry wood and finally lights a safe bonfire, illuminating the exhausted team with warm golden light. Wang Chen opens his eyes and praises Chen Guan's thoughtfulness as everyone crawls from their shelters, huddles around the flames, and eats dry rations with visible relief. Their grateful expressions slowly become suspicious when they notice that Chen Guan endured the entire freezing night without shivering. Yu Miao Miao softly asks whether his cultivation is secretly much higher than he claims, and the entire group falls silent to hear his answer. Chen Guan laughs and says that he is merely accustomed to harsh winters from growing up poor, hiding the truth behind a believable smile, as every pair of eyes remains fixed on him. Campfire in the Misty Loin Mountains, Yu Miao Miao lowers her head with guilt and softly apologizes after hearing about Chen Guan's difficult childhood. Chen Guan responds with a relaxed smile, spreading his hands as he assures her that the past no longer troubles him and reminds her that he is now a disciple of the Qingxuan Sect. The other teammates quietly eat their dry rations nearby, while Yu Miao Miao's sorrowful expression slowly softens beneath Chen Guan's calm optimism. After extinguishing every trace of the campfire, Wang Chen leads the team deeper into the Luoyun Mountains along a narrow trail surrounded by towering trees, wet stone cliffs, and drifting morning mist. He sternly reminds everyone to watch their surroundings and pay attention to every step, while continuing to teach them about medicinal herbs found along the path. Zhang Hao, Zhao Yide, Xu Jinshu, and Yu Miao Miao listen with growing admiration, while Chen Guan quietly recognizes that Wang Chen is a capable and kind leader who genuinely cares about their safety. The group enters a mysterious mountain forest completely shrouded in thick white clouds, reducing ordinary visibility to only a few steps. Chen Guan secretly activates his spirit bright eyes, causing the foggy wilderness to transform into a hidden world of colorful spiritual currents. Among the stationary lights of trees and herbs, he notices a long, thin ribbon of green spiritual energy slowly moving through the treetops. Realizing that it belongs to a living creature, Chen Guan becomes intensely alert and quietly asks Wang Chen whether anything valuable might be hiding nearby. A sudden rustling sound races through the treetops, instantly silencing the entire team. Wang Chen raises one hand and turns sharply toward Chen Guan, asking whether he detected something, while the younger disciples grip their spirit swords nervously. Through his spirit-bright eyes, Chen Guan sees more than 100 glowing green points gathering into the shape of a massive serpent rapidly approaching through the mist. He warns that something is moving toward them from above, and Wang Chen immediately orders everyone to gather around him and form the Tianshu array. The 6 cultivators lock into the Tianshu sword array as glowing spiritual energy connects their drawn swords around Wang Chen. With a powerful sweep of his sleeve, Wang Chen unleashes the wind-calling incantation, blasting the dense mist away and revealing a terrifying woodvine snake coiled through the branches above them. Its enormous body resembles twisted living vines. A black vertical stripe cuts across its green head, and its tail ends in a razor-sharp leaf blade. Wang Chen's face turns as he announces that the predator is a late-stage qi-refining spirit beast and has already chosen them as its prey. The team cautiously retreats while maintaining the glowing sword formation, but the woodvine snake suddenly launches its leaf-shaped tail with explosive speed. The blade tears through the air toward them in a deadly green blur, forcing Wang Chen to step forward and block it with his spirit sword. A violent metallic impact sends sparks and spiritual shockwaves across the forest as the entire formation trembles. Except for Chen Guan, every junior disciple turns pale from the enormous spiritual energy consumption, while Xu Jinshu weakly warns that she is nearly exhausted. Wang Chen shouts for everyone to endure for one final breath, as the Tianshu array pours its remaining spiritual power into his sword. Brilliant stars form along the blade in the pattern of the Big Dipper, transforming the weapon into a massive celestial sword of light. With the younger disciples straining behind him, Wang Chen leaps forward and slashes down with overwhelming force, splitting the woodvine snake's head directly through the center. The giant creature hangs motionless from the trees as the exhausted sword formation dissolves into fading sparks around the victorious team. As the exhausted disciples collapse onto the damp forest floor, Wang Chen relaxes and explains that the valuable snake carcass, especially its deadly tail, can be sold for many spirit stones. He promises the junior disciples a generous share. Chen Guan remains standing and silently studies the supposedly dead creature through his spirit-bright eyes. Deep inside the hanging body, a bright green point of spiritual energy pulses rhythmically like a hidden heart. While the others begin celebrating their victory, Chen Guan realizes that the danger may not be over. Without warning anyone, Chen Guan activates the 9 spirit steps and vanishes from his position in a burst of motion. He reappears beside the woodvine snake and drives his spirit sword directly through the pulsing green light hidden inside its body. The creature's split head suddenly jerks upward and releases a horrifying hiss, revealing that it had been faking its death while waiting to ambush the unsuspecting team. Its enormous body convulses violently before finally collapsing completely limp, while Wang Chen and the exhausted disciples stare at Chen Guan in stunned silence. Wang Chen studies the aftermath with narrowed eyes, comparing the exhausted junior disciples sprawled across the ground with Chen Guan, who still stands calmly with strength to spare. Realizing that Chen Guan detected the serpent's false death and prevented a potentially fatal ambush, Wang Chen breaks into a broad grin and calls him a pleasant surprise. Chen Guan sheathes his sword with a mischievous smile and jokes that he does not like men. Wang Chen freezes for a moment before bursting into uncontrollable laughter as the others stare at them in disbelief. Beneath the towering forest canopy, Wang Chen orders everyone to sit and restore their spiritual energy before attempting the dangerous return journey. Chen Guan sits cross-legged among the roots of an ancient tree as glowing energy flows steadily back into his body, hiding the fact that he still retained most of his strength. After recovering, he opens his eyes and sees Wang Chen standing high atop a tree, silently surveying the mist-covered wilderness for approaching threats. The remaining disciples continue cultivating below, while the enormous woodvine snake lies across the forest floor beside them. Once everyone has recovered, the team lifts the nearly 20-meter-long woodvine snake and begins carrying it through the dense mountain forest. Wang Chen shoulders the dangerous tail section, Chen Guan confidently carries the enormous split head, and Jiang Hao, Zhao Yide, Yu Miao Miao, and Xu Jinshu struggle together beneath the heavy middle portion. Their exhausted expressions add comedy to the difficult march as the serpent's vine-like body stretches across the entire trail. Deep in the foggy mountains, Wang Chen suddenly stops and realizes that Chen Guan has accidentally led the entire group farther into the Luoyun Mountains instead of toward the city. Still carrying the serpent's tail, Wang Chen stares at him with exasperated disbelief while Chen Guan apologetically explains that the mist was too thick and he lost the path. The other disciples sag beneath the enormous snake carcass with exhausted, horrified expressions. Rather than becoming angry, Wang Chen takes responsibility as captain, moves to the front and firmly announces that he will lead them down the mountain. Just before darkness falls, the exhausted team finally emerges from the Luoyun Mountains and enters the mountain city while carrying the enormous woodvine snake through the gates. Yu Miao Miao and Xu Jinshu brighten with relief, joyfully talking about taking hot baths and sleeping in comfortable beds after the freezing wilderness. Before they can rush away, Wang Chen stops them and points toward the busy marketplace, declaring that selling the spirit beast carcass is also part of their training. Merchants and cultivators turn in astonishment as the 6 disciples carry their massive prize into the crowded city. The mountain city marketplace, Wang Chen and the 5 junior disciples wait beside the enormous 20-meter-long woodvine snake displayed across the ground. Busy cultivators and merchants pass through the distant streets, yet no one approaches their remote stall. Zhao Yide grows visibly frustrated and asks whether anyone will ever come this far to buy the carcass, while Wang Chen remains completely calm with his arms folded. Chen Guan, Yu Miao Miao, Jiang Hao and Xu Jinshu wait nearby with tired expressions after their dangerous journey. A refined man wearing an elegant black and gold robe approaches the deserted stall and calmly asks the price of the woodvine snake. His gentle face and graceful demeanor resemble a refreshing spring breeze, yet an invisible pressure around him suggests tremendous cultivation. Wang Chen gives Zhao Yide a meaningful sideways glance, silently proving that his patience was justified before meeting the stranger's gaze without fear or flattery. Chen Guan watches closely from behind, immediately sensing that this sophisticated customer is no ordinary cultivator. The black and gold robed cultivator smiles faintly at Wang Chen's confident attitude and declares that he will overlook the junior's boldness out of respect for the Qingxuan Sect. The storage ring on his finger suddenly flashes with spiritual light, causing a large pile of 100 spirit stones to appear beside the snake. With another effortless gesture, the enormous 20-meter carcass vanishes completely into the small ring. Chen Guan narrows his eyes in astonishment, realizing from the man's power and tone that he may be a Foundation establishment cultivator. After the mysterious buyer leaves, Wang Chen crouches beside the pile and divides the payment among the team. He keeps half as the captain and distributes 10 spirit stones to each junior disciple. Chen Guan, Yu Miao Miao, Zhang Hao, Zhao Yide, and Xu Jingxu stare at the stones in their hands with disbelief, realizing that the woodvine snake was worth 100 spirit stones. Their exhausted faces brighten with excitement as the dangerous battle finally feels rewarded. Chen Guan innocently asks why the snake carcass was so expensive, causing Wang Chen to stare at him in disbelief before launching into an animated lecture. Wang Chen points toward the place where the massive beast had rested and reminds Chen Guan that it was a late-stage qi-refining woodvine snake that even he could barely defeat without the team's help. He then places a hand on Chen Guan's shoulder like an exhausted father correcting a clueless child, explaining that this journey is meant to teach them the true value of cultivation resources. Chen Guan stands speechless beneath the lecture while the others struggle not to laugh. As evening lanterns illuminate the mountain city, Wang Chen sends the exhausted disciples to find rooms at the same inn while he remains behind to sell their collected medicinal herbs. Chen Guan begins walking away alone, but Yu Miao Miao quickly jogs after him and calls for him to wait, her face brightening at the chance to accompany him. Xu Jingxu follows close behind and asks to join them as well. Zhang Hao and Zhao Yide exchange resigned looks before trailing after the group, while Wang Chen watches them leave with an impatient but protective expression. Early the next morning, Chen Guan sits outside the traditional mountain inn beneath the first rays of sunrise, quietly eating warm steamed buns as auspicious purple energy rises across the eastern sky. The streets are peaceful, morning mist drifts between tiled rooftops, and distant cultivators begin their daily routines. Yu Miao Miao steps outside and greets him with a gentle smile, surprised to find him awake so early after their exhausting journey. Chen Guan welcomes her calmly as they share a quiet moment of companionship before another dangerous day. Seated across from Chen Guan at the inn's outdoor table, Yu Miao Miao cautiously asks why someone with his talent and mysterious abilities ended up in the Yi field. Chen Guan gives her a calm but serious look and explains that his spiritual roots left him with no other choice. He tells her that every cultivator possesses personal opportunities that others should not investigate too deeply. Yu Miao Miao falls silent as she understands the boundary he has gently placed between them, then slowly nods with respect. Wang Chen arrives at the breakfast table and loudly orders steamed buns, beef, wine, and several catties of dry rations from the innkeeper. Chen Guan and Yu Miao Miao greet him at exactly the same moment, causing Wang Chen's eyes to widen with theatrical delight. He leans toward them with a mischievous grin, declares that they have perfect chemistry, asking why they do not simply become Dao companions. Yu Miao Miao blushes while Chen Guan laughs helplessly. Wang Chen opens his arms dramatically as though embracing an imaginary Dao companion and claims that no young cultivator could resist sleeping in the arms of someone sweet and gentle. He then teasingly tells Yu Miao Miao that Chen Guan may not like her yet, but she can simply become stronger and force him to marry her later. Yu Miao Miao's initial disappointment transforms into laughter as she insists that her heart belongs only to cultivation, while Chen Guan watches the absurd exchange with an amused but emotionally detached smile. Jiang Hao arrives just in time to interrupt the increasingly embarrassing conversation. Under the bright morning sun, the disciples gather supplies in the bustling marketplace before returning to the mountains. Yu Miao Miao and Xu Jinshu examine large rolls of sleeping gear with hopeful expressions. But Wang Chen immediately stops them and points out that the bulky equipment would become a deadly burden if they needed to escape. He sternly reminds everyone that they are entering the wilderness to search for spirit herbs and battle monsters, not to enjoy a comfortable vacation. The disappointed juniors reluctantly replace the bedding with lightweight dry rations, while Chen Guan calmly accepts the decision. After 2 exhausting days of climbing through tangled vegetation and finding only a few cheap medicinal herbs, Wang Chen leads the team into a broad, unusually flat jungle clearing. With renewed excitement, he reveals that he once discovered rare march grass in this area and tells them that a single plant can sell for 300 spirit stones. Xu Jinshu gasps dramatically, while Chen Guan, Yu Miao Miao, Jiang Hao, and Zhao Yide stare into the jungle with astonished and hopeful expressions. Before the group can venture deeper, rustling erupts from bushes on every side of the clearing. Wang Chen instantly draws his sword and orders the team to form the Tianshu array, sending the disciples into practiced positions as spiritually connects their weapons. Chen Guan activates his spirit bright eyes and sees several moving clusters of hostile spiritual light closing in through the dense vegetation. With a grave expression, he warns Wang Chen that more than one demonic beast is surrounding them. Realizing that the weaker juniors cannot survive a battle against multiple enemies, Wang Chen immediately orders the formation to retreat slowly while countless unseen creatures circle them from the shadows. Hose through the flat jungle as leaves explode outward and a massive Qingfeng wolf steps from the bushes. Its bluish-green fur ripples in the mountain wind. Its glowing blue eyes lock onto Chen Guan's team and spiritual energy swirls around its powerful body. Wang Chen draws his spirit sword and identifies it as a late-stage qi-refining alpha wolf, while Chen Guan and the younger disciples tense under the predator's murderous stare. Wang Chen orders everyone to move closer together and warns them never to expose their backs to the surrounding wolves. Chen Guan and Xu Jinshu quickly exchange positions so that Chen Guan can guard the rear of the formation. As the team begins retreating, several pairs of glowing blue eyes emerge from the dark bushes, revealing 5 additional Qingfeng wolves circling them from every direction. 4 are at the middle stage of qi refining, while a smaller early-stage wolf prowls behind them, transforming the jungle clearing into a deadly trap. A middle-stage Qingfeng wolf suddenly leaps onto the path behind Chen Guan, lowering its body and baring its sharp fangs as wind energy gathers around its claws. Chen Guan calmly warns Wang Chen that their escape route has been blocked, while the weaker disciples tighten their grips on their swords in growing panic. Through his spirit-bright eyes, Chen Guan sees the spiritual weaknesses hidden throughout every wolf's body and realizes that although he can escape, the others will be slaughtered if he abandons them. His expression hardens with quiet determination as he chooses to stand and fight. Wang Chen orders the team to stabilize the sword formation for 3 breaths while he gathers their combined spiritual energy. The glowing Tianshu array surrounds him as his spirit sword transforms into the brilliant shape of the Big Dipper. Wang Chen launches himself toward the alpha wolf with explosive speed, but the beast opens its jaws and releases a razor-sharp wind blade. Sword light and compressed wind collide violently in mid-air, shattering the Big Dipper attack into radiant fragments and forcing Wang Chen into a desperate battle alone. As Wang Chen shouts for the junior disciples to retreat without him, Chen Guan raises one hand and instantly launches a blazing fireball into the middle-stage wolf, blocking their path. Flames erupt across its body while Chen Guan activates the 9 spirit steps, spiritual energy exploding beneath his feet. Guided by his glowing spirit-bright eyes, he becomes a ghost-like blur moving through the battlefield, appearing in 3 different locations within only a few breaths. Each precise thrust, hack, and slash strikes a hidden weakness, leaving 3 Qingfeng wolves collapsing behind him in rapid succession. Xu Jinshu cries out for help as a Qingfeng wolf clamps its jaws around her arm and violently drags her toward the bushes. Golden protective runes from her Vajra talisman flare across her sleeve, barely preventing the beast's teeth from tearing through her flesh. Chen Guan hears her scream and instantly changes direction, crossing the clearing with the 9 spirit steps. He appears behind the wolf and drives his spirit sword into the vulnerable point at the back of its neck, causing the creature to collapse beside the terrified Xu Jinshu. Jiang Hao, Zhao Yide, and Yu Miao Miao struggle together against the remaining early-stage Qingfeng wolf, their uncoordinated swords barely holding back its snapping jaws and wind-covered claws. Just as the beast prepares to break through their defense, Chen Guan's ghostly figure flashes between them. His spirit-bright eyes identify the wolf's weakness, and he delivers one flawless sword thrust that stops the creature instantly. The 3 exhausted disciples stare at him in stunned amazement as the final ordinary wolf falls silently at their feet. Wang Chen continues battling the enormous alpha wolf as wind blades tear through the jungle around them. He urgently calls for Chen Guan's assistance, and Chen Guan responds by launching a blazing fireball across the clearing. Using his spirit-bright eyes, Chen Guan times the attack perfectly and strikes the weak point at the back of the alpha's neck while it is focused on Wang Chen. The beast crashes to the ground with a helpless whimper, and Wang Chen immediately brings his spirit sword down across its waist, ending the battle in a burst of shattered earth, spiritual light, and flying leaves. The surviving disciples collapse across the ruined jungle clearing while Wang Chen, his face splattered from battle, laughs with relief and praises Chen Guan for saving the entire team. Chen Guan sheathes his sword and jokingly asks to be treated to a good meal when they return to the city. Wang Chen enthusiastically promises to take him to the luxurious Chunfeng pavilion, causing Yu Miao Miao to cough sharply and glare at them with suspicion. Jiang Hao and Zhao Yide immediately raise their hands and excitedly ask to join. After the laughter fades, Wang Chen seriously asks whether Chen Guan has been practicing the 9 spirit steps. When Chen Guan admits that he has already mastered the technique, Wang Chen gasps in amazement and declares him a true genius. He grips Chen Guan's shoulder and mourns that such extraordinary comprehension was given to someone with 3 spiritual roots, imagining how easily Chen Guan might have reached the Golden Core realm with stronger natural talent. Chen Guan responds humbly that he would already be satisfied to reach Foundation establishment, while the other disciples listen in astonished silence. Wang Chen points toward the distant southern horizon and tells Chen Guan of a legendary mountain buried beneath thousands of miles of snow. He describes an immense frozen peak containing the naturally formed southern bright fire, a magnificent flame burning within a world of ice. Wang Chen explains that taming this extraordinary fire could transform Chen Guan's talent and make the Golden Core realm possible. Chen Guan listens with cautious fascination, but questions whether such a treasure would have remained undiscovered for so long. Chen Guan warns that the scent of blood may attract even more demonic beasts, immediately ending the team's celebration. The 6 cultivators each lift one Qingfeng wolf carcass onto their shoulders and hurry through the dense mountain forest before another predator can arrive. Wang Chen leads from the front with his sword ready, while Chen Guan guards the rear beneath the weight of a massive wolf. The group moves through the fading sunlight with exhaustion, urgency, and hard-earned unity visible on every face. Before sunset, the battered team returns safely to the mountain city, carrying 6 Qingfeng wolf carcasses through the gates. Wang Chen reflects gravely that without Chen Guan, the younger disciples would likely have died, and he alone might have returned wounded to face punishment from the sect. He announces that they will sell the wolves, rest in the city for 1 full day, and return to Qingxuan Sect afterward. Xu Jinshu releases a deep breath of relief as the warm city lanterns replace the cold shadows of the mountains. Wang Chen praises Xu Jinshu for spending 10 spirit stones on the Vajra talisman that protected her arm and reminds her never to forget that Chen Guan saved her life. Xu Jinshu looks toward Chen Guan with sincere gratitude, hesitates, and then innocently offers to pay for the entire Chunfeng pavilion for him that evening. Chen Guan's face instantly turns bright red with embarrassment, stunned that his first visit to such a place might be funded by a young woman he rescued. Wang Chen dramatically raises one hand to reject the offer, while Yu Miao Miao and the others react with shocked, amused and suspicious expressions. Chen Guan politely refuses any personal reward and redirects everyone's attention towards selling the wolf carcasses. Wang Chen stands beside the 6 valuable bodies and announces a fair distribution. Chen Guan will receive 30% for his decisive contribution, Wang Chen will take 30% as team leader, and the remaining 4 disciples will share the final 40%. Jiang Hao, Zhao Yide, Yu Miao Miao and Xu Jinshu agree without hesitation, their expressions filled with respect for Chen Guan. The team begins setting up a marketplace stall beneath the evening lanterns, surrounded by 6 slain wolves and the promise of another major payday. Of the Mountain City marketplace, the final Qingfeng wolf carcass and gathered spirit herbs are sold for more than 150 spirit stones. Wang Chen carefully divides the earnings, placing 32 spirit stones into Chen Guan's hands while the exhausted team watches with satisfaction. Chen Guan studies his reward with quiet pride, realizing how much wealth they earned from surviving the dangerous mountain trial. Behind them, merchants close their stalls as the marketplace transitions into a lively nighttime district. Once everything is sold, Wang Chen places an arm around Chen Guan's shoulders and enthusiastically leads him toward the brightly illuminated entertainment streets, promising to show his junior brother around. Zhao Yide hurries after them, while Jiang Hao pretends to act responsible by telling Yu Miao Miao and Xu Jinshu to return to the inn before immediately chasing the others. Yu Miao Miao stands behind with her arms folded, red-faced and indignant, as she insists that Chen Guan can make his own decisions. The young men vanish into the crowd, while the 2 women turn toward the inn district. On a peaceful, lantern-lit street leading back to the inn, Xu Jinshu hesitantly asks Yu Miao Miao whether she has romantic feelings for Chen Guan. Yu Miao Miao immediately denies it, waving her hands and claiming they are only former classmates. Xu Jinshu releases a relieved breath and softly admits that she likes Chen Guan and hopes to ask him to become her Dao companion. Yu Miao Miao freezes mid-step, her eyes widening as jealousy and confusion cross her face, while Xu Jinshu continues walking beside her with innocent hope. Wang Chen brings Chen Guan to the magnificent 4-story Chunfeng Tower, an enormous entertainment house filled with elegant courtyards, glowing red lanterns, carved balconies, flowing curtains, musicians, dancers, and laughing guests. Chen Guan looks around with open curiosity, experiencing such a place for the first time, while Wang Chen walks forward with complete confidence. A heavily made-up madam approaches through a cloud of perfume and bows dramatically, ready to welcome the wealthy cultivators. In the ornate entrance hall, Wang Chen casually tosses a spirit stone toward the madam and requests refined company for Chen Guan, while choosing several glamorous attendants for himself. The madam catches the spirit stone with both hands, her eyes sparkling in astonishment before her entire attitude becomes overwhelmingly welcoming. She bows deeply and announces that the distinguished guests will be taken to the luxurious 4th floor. Behind them, Zhao Yide calls out in protest that he and Jiang Hao have been forgotten, while Wang Chen dismissively tells them to negotiate for themselves. Chen Guan follows Wang Chen up the grand staircase of Chunfeng Tower, passing increasingly luxurious floors filled with music, laughter, elegant guests, and beautifully dressed attendants. On the lower floors, couples sit close beneath lantern light. Higher up, private rooms line the corridors while the sounds of string instruments and singing drift through carved doors. Chen Guan observes everything with wide-eyed curiosity, but remains composed, while Wang Chen strides ahead like an experienced guide. Inside a quiet and luxurious private room on the 4th floor, the madam presents 6 elegantly dressed young women before Wang Chen and Chen Guan. 4 confident attendants stand near Wang Chen, while 2 shy and refined women remain beside Chen Guan. Chen Guan studies them with calm curiosity before choosing Run Chen, an oval-faced young woman with smooth fair skin and a gentle expression. Wang Chen immediately laughs, approves of his junior brother's choice, and settles comfortably onto the cushioned seating while the madam smiles triumphantly. The private room transforms into an elegant evening of wine and music as one attendant plays a traditional string instrument while another pours drinks into delicate cups. Runchen sits beside Chen Guan and respectfully fills his cup, while Wang Chen lounges across from him with two attendants and raises his wine in celebration. Chen Guan admits that this unfamiliar experience feels completely different from anything he has known before, and Wang Chen laughs loudly as they clink cups. As the wine loosens his emotions, Wang Chen's cheerful expression becomes bitter and vulnerable. He tells Chen Guan about once loving a female cultivator from his class, only to lose her to an older, late-stage qi refining cultivator with greater strength and status. A younger Wang Chen had watched helplessly as the woman he admired walked away beside a powerful cultivator. Wang Chen grips his wine cup and complains that she only returned after he became strong, while Chen Guan listens silently with sympathy. Wang Chen leans across the table and passionately warns Chen Guan that beautiful female cultivators are highly sought after and often choose partners by weighing cultivation, status, and resources. He gestures toward the refined women in the room and argues that strength gives a cultivator freedom, while weakness leaves him vulnerable to humiliation and rejection. Chen Guan remains relaxed and asks whether there cannot simply be pure friendship between men and women. Wang Chen stares at his youthful, clear-eyed junior brother in disbelief. Wang Chen points his wine cup toward Chen Guan and claims that Yu Miao Miao may now be reconsidering him because she has noticed his hidden strength and talent. He asks what Chen Guan could possibly gain from choosing someone with low aptitude merely because she is attractive, insisting that cultivators should never ignore the calculations behind affection. Chen Guan smiles and gently pushes back, saying that companionship does not always need to involve romance or personal gain. Runchen quietly pours another cup while listening without interrupting. Chen Guan turns Wang Chen's argument around with a warm smile, pointing out that the two of them are now friends, despite Wang Chen gaining nothing from sharing his painful experiences and advice. Wang Chen immediately looks away, embarrassed by the sincerity in Chen Guan's gaze, and insists that he is only acting as a responsible senior brother. He admits that he has great expectations for Chen Guan and wants him to reach foundation establishment so they might help one another in the future. Now visibly affected by the wine, Wang Chen rises unsteadily and gives Chen Guan one final warning. Those who fall in love first are usually the ones who suffer most. He then announces that he is leaving to enjoy more private entertainment and exits with two attendants, trying to hide his emotions behind exaggerated confidence. Chen Guan remains seated in the elegant room with Runchen, watching the door close as the lively music from the lower floors becomes distant and muted. In the peaceful private room, Runchen gently pours another cup of wine for Chen Guan. She looks toward him with a graceful, uncertain smile and asks whether he would like her to play a song. Chen Guan sits alone at the table, reflecting on Wang Chen's warnings, Yu Miao Miao's friendship, and the complicated world of cultivators and relationships. Runchen waits for his answer as her fingers hover above the strings of an instrument. Steps out of the quiet fourth-floor private room of Chunfeng Tower with the faint scent of wine clinging to his robes, yet his eyes are sharper and calmer than before. Behind him, Runchen sleeps peacefully beneath a silk blanket in the untouched room, making it clear that nothing improper happened during the night. Chen Guan pauses beside the carved balcony and looks over the awakening city, reflecting on everything he witnessed and realizing that the glamour of the previous evening no longer holds the same attraction for him. A sorrowful memory shows Runchen kneeling beside Chen Guan during the previous night, tears streaking down her face as she begs him to take her away from Chunfeng Tower. Her hands tremble as she promises to accept even the lowest position in his household and asks for nothing except protection from a darker future. Chen Guan sits silently across from her, his expression shifting from surprise to compassion as the joyful music outside the room becomes distant and muted. In the early morning entrance hall of Chunfeng Tower, the heavily made-up madam approaches Chen Guan with a cautious smile and asks whether Runchen pleased him. Chen Guan calmly states that he intends to take Runchen with him, and asks how many spirit stones are required for her release. The madam's expression brightens as she reveals that another guest from the previous night has already paid the full ransom. Chen Guan immediately understands that Wang Chen secretly anticipated his decision, and a faint, grateful smile appears on his face. Chen Guan returns to the private room, brews a fragrant pot of tea, and sits quietly beside an open window while waiting for breakfast. Far below, ordinary people carry shoulder poles through the waking streets. Merchants arrange fresh goods and steam rises from roadside food stalls. The peaceful everyday life outside contrasts with the luxurious interior of Chunfeng Tower and the complicated decision Chen Guan has just made. He watches the city in reflective silence, appearing mature beyond his years. Runchen awakens in confusion and quietly leaves the private room, only for the madam to rush toward her and reveal that her belongings have already been packed because Chen Guan has secured her freedom. Shock turns into overwhelming relief as Runchen hurries back inside, drops to her knees, and repeatedly bows in gratitude before Chen Guan. He looks down at her with a weary sigh and gently tells her to stand, refusing to treat her like property despite her fearful obedience. Runchen stands nervously before Chen Guan, with her hands clasped and her head lowered, afraid to speak or move incorrectly. Chen Guan tells her not to use an overly formal title that makes him sound old and instructs her to call him young master instead. He then calmly explains that she will travel with him from now on before telling her to wash her tear-streaked face and eat a proper breakfast. Runchen looks up with cautious hope, beginning to understand that her new life may be gentler than she feared. At noon, Wang Chen pushes open the private room door with a smug grin and immediately looks toward the perfectly clean bed, expecting evidence of an eventful night. Finding nothing, he sighs dramatically and jokingly asks whether Chen Guan truly prefers men despite having a beautiful woman beside him. Chen Guan responds with an amused but firm denial, while Runchen stands behind him and gently massages his shoulders. Wang Chen's exaggerated disappointment, Chen Guan's calm expression turn the awkward moment into playful comedy. Wang Chen realizes that Chen Guan truly intends to take Runchen away and asks whether he is ignoring all the cynical advice from the previous night. Chen Guan smiles and points out that Wang Chen paid her ransom precisely because he already understood what Chen Guan would choose. Wang Chen stares at him for a moment before bursting into hearty laughter, unable to deny the quiet kindness hidden behind his rough personality. The two young men share a genuine moment of brotherhood, while Runchen watches them with grateful curiosity. Chen Guan returns to the inn with Runchen following respectfully a few steps behind him, carrying her small bundle of belongings. In the lobby, Yu Miao Miao and Xu Jinqiu freeze when they see the unfamiliar young woman accompanying him. Yu Miao Miao's expression mixes jealousy, confusion, and disappointment, while Xu Jinqiu looks equally startled after recently admitting her interest in Chen Guan. Chen Guan remains composed and begins arranging a room for Runchen, seemingly unaware of the emotional storm unfolding around him. Wang Chen leads Chen Guan, Yu Miao Miao, and Xu Jinqiu into a sprawling cultivator market filled with crowded stalls, selling mysterious scrolls, talismans, weapons, pills, and strange magical objects. He tells them to examine anything that interests them, but warns that genuine treasures and convincing fakes are mixed together. Chen Guan studies the stalls carefully without spending a single spirit stone, comparing the marketplace to a dangerous antique street where every bargain could hide a trap. Chen Guan stops before a stall covered in weathered spell scrolls and asks whether the incantations being sold are authentic. Wang Chen responds with a mischievous smile and suggests that Chen Guan buy one and test it himself. Chen Guan immediately refuses, explaining that he would rather purchase secret techniques from the sect, where their authenticity is guaranteed. Wang Chen laughs loudly and praises him for not being foolish, while Yu Miao Miao pouts after receiving the same teasing response when she questions whether every stall item is fake. While walking through the market, Chen Guan asks why no storage treasures are displayed for sale. Wang Chen stops in astonishment and explains that even a trap crystal the size of a grain of rice costs 500 spirit stones, while a completed storage treasure may cost around 3,000. Chen Guan and the two women stare in amazement as they realize how distant such treasures remain from ordinary outer disciples. Xu Jinshu innocently suggests that because they earned so many spirit stones during the trial, they might be able to purchase a storage treasure after only a few years of repeating such missions. Wang Chen slowly turns toward her with an exaggerated expression of disbelief, as though looking at someone who has forgotten the entire purpose of cultivation. He asks whether she expects a late-stage qi refining cultivator to waste years escorting them instead of cultivating, causing Xu Jinshu's confident smile to collapse into embarrassed silence. Yu Miao Miao covers a laugh while Chen Guan looks away to hide his amusement. After returning to the inn, Chen Guan knocks on his room door and Runchen opens it with a warm, respectful smile, greeting him as young master. He tells her that food will be brought up and that they will eat together, but his slightly awkward posture reveals that he is still adjusting to another person suddenly becoming part of his daily life. Later that night, Runchen prepares the bed and invites him to rest. Chen Guan remains seated nearby instead and gently begins asking about her past, shifting the moment from expectation towards sincere human connection. Runchen sits on the edge of the bed and tells Chen Guan that she has no relatives because she was raised inside Chunfeng Tower from childhood. When he gently asks whether she possesses spiritual roots, she lowers her eyes and quietly answers that she does not. Chen Guan watches her in thoughtful silence, realizing the enormous distance between his path toward immortality and the short mortal life awaiting her.